Luke. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm no competition for Zach's stuff. Let's be honest here. My humility is the stuff of legend. So if you want to, wow, if you want to go hang out there for a little while, by all means, knock yourself out. I'll give it a few minutes to. Depends on my giveaway today. Yeah. No, I'm a bit too poor to be giving stuff away right now. I said I got the knife bought, picked out, and I've played with it for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway, but that's still a little ways out. However, we do have the Opinel here. Let's see how. I think this is the one I sharpened. I think it is. Yeah, this is the one I sharpened. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd like to have a couple of other Opinels. There's one. It's I forget the number on it, but it's like an absolute pocket sword. Like it's cold steel sized and some change. It's about like the Espada XL, but that thing is way more money than I have right now, and I don't know whether or not they're still in production or if they've been discontinued. This is definitely the one I sharpened. I'm just stropping the crap out of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Some of those cheap knives will hold a fantastic edge forever, but you know, part of that too is if you don't abuse a knife and put it through stuff it's not meant to, it tends to hold up pretty good. Like at this point with Cardboard Slayer, I'm just kind of waiting to see when I do have something that actually does wear out. You know, like this is starting to get frustrating. Like we put it through 3 hours of cardboard and it still just won't wear out so bad that it tears the paper instead of at least kind of cutting it. Like I don't get it. You know, I'm not mad at it, mind you, but I've got to find a more hardcore way of testing these things for sure. All right, how sharp we got this thing now? Oh my God, look at that, guys. Okay, so we have stropped this to ridiculous sharpness. All right, let us commence the cardboard slaying, gentlemen or gentlemans. I've actually been looking forward to this one a little bit just because I know it's going to be an incredible slicer. I wish this had the number on it. I think this is an Opinel. Yeah, it's a number 8. Number 8. I've got a second number 8 around here somewhere that I couldn't find the other night. I don't know where I put it. It's somewhere in a giant mess in the war room that I need to clean up. Oh, man. That is so nice. Who all we got in here, man? Pop in. Say hi. Let's get the chat kicked off. I'm looking for you guys to entertain me and me to entertain you guys for the next few hours here. Because like I got up at 2 a.m. for work today to go open, and I have to stay up until about 1 o'clock in the morning so that I can crash and go close tomorrow night, and I got to clock in at like 3 p.m. So that's going to be a long wait. The no reason part's not so much fun. You know, it's just Like that's the one thing that I really wish I could, control with my current job is the schedule. Um, I do miss having a set, predictable schedule that leaves me with some more energy to function with. I've been opening for months now. I go in, I open, I go home at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, somewhere in that window, and then I get swung back over to closing. And then, like at the end of the week, I'm off Friday, and then I wake up at 2 a.m. to open on Saturday, and then I'm closing for the rest of the week. It's like it's some consistency would be nice. Like we got 3 different team leads, and the idea was we were supposed to be basically rotating. Like you open for 4 or 6 weeks, you move to mids for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you move to closing for 4 to 6 weeks, and kind of give everybody some time on their other schedule. And also let everybody learn everything, because like team lead is a training position for management. We're part of the management team, but they do not grant us the rank of manager. And I'm still waiting on that promotion, but it's like you should be able to, with those guys, just rotate the schedule so everybody can remain consistent and enjoy some kind of quality of life outside of work. With the schedule flip-flopping around like that, you really can't do a thing outside of work. There's not really much social stuff you end up doing. There's not much, recreational stuff you end up doing. You basically just go home and sleep. Oh my God. Oh, that is a nice cut. Jesus. So we've already had our first couple of people, oh, that phrase. Yeah, that was my ex-wife. Hey, Josh, what's up? We're running on the Opie now. I just stropped the life out of it and got it to insanely sharp, so we're playing around now. But yeah, the ex-wife, whenever she was doing a bunch of stuff that just kind of was destroying the marriage, and we weren't really, being buddy-buddy. Like every hour or so, we're just like strangers passing in the night. Like, 1, I don't think that means what you think it means. And 2, I've heard it 7 million times in the last 3 days. Please stop. But, Josh, what you been getting into today? Fook, you ain't do nothing wrong, man. I just hadn't thought about that in a long time. See, we got some more people that dropped in, and they're going to be like, nope, I'm out of here. It's just cutting cardboard. I don't get triggered, sir. Yeah, Punisher, it is an Opinel number 8. I've used this intermittently for like cutting boxes and cutting paracord and stuff like that. Like this was the primary paracord cutter whenever I was making lanyard beads obsessively. I need to make some more. I need to get ready for Blade Show. Like Blade Show is hilarious. I got a bunch of beads. I cast the resin for them. I turn the resin on the lathe. Like they are made from scratch by hand. And I had a big old bag of them. And you go into Blade Show, you can't sell stuff. Oh, nice, Josh. You can't walk in there with a bag of crap just selling it on the floor like that. That's not how that works. So I bring them, just like, you know what, I'll give them away. Spread some positive vibes. Now, in the bottom of this bag, I had some skulls that I cast in a very small mold. And I made thermochromic resin. It changes color when it gets warm. And I had a few of those in the bottom of the bag and all these handmade beads. So I'm just talking to people that I meet. I'm like, hey man, you want a bead? Check them out. And literally every single person went past all the handmade stuff for the bottom of the bag with these skulls that changed color, completely ignoring the stuff that I actually had time in. And yeah, like I was happy I found something that people liked, but I was also a bit insulted, not gonna lie. I get guys asking, do you sell them? It's like, bro, I don't know how to price these things. It's like I've seen like one guy I talked to, he's like, do not sell them for a penny less than $50 online. They're amazing. It's just like, yeah, I don't see $50 for a bead. Like, I get it. All right, I did the resin casting, I did the pigment, all that stuff. You know, I spent probably about 30 minutes or so working on it on the lathe. You know, between turning it, shaping it, polishing it, getting it ready to go, all that. You know, there's a little bit of work tied up in them, but I don't see that kind of price on them. I can't visualize that. So that one's been weird. And like I had one guy, a friend of mine, he's asking how much I'd charge him for a batch of 10. I was like, I don't know how to price them. So I made 10 and I hit him up and I hit him up on Messenger. I'm like, hey man, you tying your own paracord off on these? Cause I can't really do any fancy knots. Never got back to me. I was just going to give them to him for free because he's a friend. You know, I was hoping maybe he could use them to make a few bucks for his family for Christmas. Never got back to me. You know, which is part of why I didn't make them with the intent to sell. I've already been through that. Yeah. And, you know, that's the thing, like I've gone through, I turned pins for a long time. You know, I made tons of pins. I sold a few. Those were difficult as hell to sell. You know, again, everyone's like, dude, that's awesome. That's beautiful. How much? You know, and then it was always, I'll bring the money next week. Hey man, I got you next week. Next week never comes. And then I started making resin fridge magnets and jewelry. And you know, those, again, everybody's like, those are awesome. How much? And I sold a handful, gave a bunch away. The ones that I thought would do really good were gummy bears. I made resin gummy bears and turned them into earrings. And everybody that saw them loved them, but I put them up on Etsy and I had them on there all the way through Black Friday, Christmas. I knocked them down to, I think, like $7 a pair with shipping. Still didn't sell a single one. I just, so I'm like, you know what? Selling these things is not my forte. I'm only going to make them because they make me happy. Yeah, not everyone uses lanyards. I just find they're really convenient for, you know, pulling them out of whatever I have them, wherever I'm storing them. And it's a little bit of pocket bling, you know. And pocket bling is so much better when you made it yourself. You know, it's just, they're nowhere near as fancy as the stuff a lot of guys make. You know, I don't have that kind of skill on the lathe, and I think those guys have machining lathes, not wood turning lathes. Which lets you do finer work and make it much more repeatable. I think, however, it's a lot slower. Yeah, you know, Etsy is huge. You know, it's not so much that, you know, I'm not bitter about it. It's just like there was a lot of time, energy, and money that went into getting all that set up, and then nothing happened. You know, and like we all really thought they were gonna sell. Like we thought they were gonna move and move some units, and they didn't. Like, and I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say not a damn one sold. Like it didn't happen. But I think Rich over at Ace on Knives, he's got something like 15 or 18 beads that I made now. And that was, again, I got a buddy of mine that spends every April raising money for Make-A-Wish, Georgia. And I got him hooked up with a Forged in Fire champion that I know. And that guy made him a knife to sell for the drive for Make-A-Wish, Georgia. Yeah, that sounds about right. You know, he had a lot of people pulling in on him, and I made, God, a crap ton of beads. You know, I made some for him personally, and I made a bunch of them for him to sell, however he could make money off them. And they ended up giving them away as kind of, I guess, little curios to go with the things that they sold, the challenge coins, stuff like that. And I bought a challenge coin to help him out, and one of my beads came back to me in the package with the coin. I don't think dude realized who he was sending it to. So I think we're going to push until this thing starts feeling a little bit crusty, and then we're going to check the edge. And we're not going to strop this until it really, really gets going. So like the woodworking stuff, you know, I've turned a bunch of pins. I've turned a couple of bowls. The rest of my woodworking stuff, because I never really had the patience to learn how to do things. Like I'll figure out how to do one cool thing and just do that forever. But um, I made some benches for my back deck for me and the ex-wife and her friends and all that to hang out on, because we were out there a lot because we all smoked like a pack and some change a day. So we just about lived out on the back deck and kind of poked our heads in and checked on the kids every so often. And it looked like a drunk redneck went at it with a blind apprentice. However, everything was so overbuilt, even though it was uglier than sin, that thing can handle like 900 pounds on it and not budge. I've got some bookshelves back here that I built the kids, and again, they look horrible, but they are durable as hell. Oh, dude. Like, I'd love to have the patience and the presence of mind to learn stuff, and part of that is my mind will not latch onto this stuff. And I think that's kind of one of those things that went by the wayside after getting clean. Like that being absolutely mesmerized by the process, and all that stuff just kind of went away. So like I've wanted to learn how to sharpen knives, but I haven't had the right frame of mind to sit down and work with whetstones to really get the hang of getting that. Because I'd love to be able to produce that kind of edge. I can get as close as I want with what I have now, but I'd love to be able to say that I could take stones and turn a knife into something that cuts freestanding paper. Or this one guy, it was a handmade knife. I think he was the one that made it, but he stood the knife up in a vise and yeeted a paper airplane at it, and it split the paper airplane in half as it flew through. And granted, that's too sharp of an edge to be serviceable. An ant fart's gonna chip it, but that is still absolutely impressive as hell to see. It's like watching the girl you had a crush on for 15 years flash somebody else. It was still amazing, but you're gonna be jealous. I did turn a couple of yo-yos down on the lathe. A former brother-in-law, twice removed. Glad that guy's gone. But he was kind of into all kinds of random stuff, and one of those was yo-yo tricks. So he taught me a couple of really cool ones that were super flashy. And then like he's showing me how to turn yo-yos on the lathe, and we're buying parts and we're figuring it out. And because it looks like logs falling off a truck. That's why. But, we got super into that, and that's all we did for like 3 weeks. I've got a couple of really nice ones. And the biggest thing was trying to find materials that would let it spin for the longest time possible. So I took some Ipe and fought that, and I mean fought it into shape. And that thing will spin forever, but it's also going to cost you every last bit of circulation from this part of the finger down whenever you have it strapped on. I don't know if I still remember how to do any of the 2 or 3 tricks that I learned, but that's okay. It's nice to have a little keepsake from that. I'm not that worried about it. But God, that guy was just the worst. Like, it started out fun. Like, we used to love getting I think someone might have gotten, I'm sure in Final Destination someone got split in 2 by a wire. But that guy, we used to have a lot of fun when we were drinking together. But when I quit drinking with him, all of his inherent ugliness as a human being started showing. This thing is still gliding through these cuts. Like, this is nice. I wonder if I have any of that really hardcore cardboard left from the other day. I'm gonna have to look. Oh yeah, that scene in Ghost Ship pops up on Facebook Reels once in a while. Like that was definitely the kind of thing I would have watched ravenously. Sure. Maybe back up until about the time I turned 30. I'm one of those guys that at some point, approaching my 30s, which again may be tied to getting clean, but I went from absolutely buck wild to like very, very sedate, and like I was already a premature senior citizen. You know, even in my buck wild days, I was still like the cranky old man of the group. But yeah, just I am aging into it so quickly. Like Facebook, I like Facebook well enough. All right, by itself, it's kind of innocuous. However, without going into the politics or anything like that, you know, I have a bunch of people I know through various phases of my life. Some of them I care about a great deal, but they are very much on the wrong side of history with a lot of stuff. And I ended up keeping them around as a litmus just to kind of keep, you know, an eye on what's happening, you know, outside of my little bubble. Because the people that, you know, kind of align with my views and beliefs and aren't just obnoxious, awful people about some of the worst things about humanity right now that, you know, have been the worst things about society for, well, since there was society. You know, if I just look at those guys, it makes the world look like a really pleasant, happy place. And then I'm like, oh, wait, there's this other stuff going on outside this bubble. Woof. You know, sometimes it's fun when people from both bubbles bump into each other. Or we, because like a lot of us know the same people. People from, you know, the bubble that I share with my tribe, you know, there's an overlap. The Venn diagram's not a complete circle, but it's fun watching them get into arguments with each other. I will say that. I will scroll through an entire Facebook argument. I hit the point where I stopped posting the GIF of the guy eating popcorn just because, you know, if I make my presence known, it disrupts the organic nature of the fight. And I'd rather see what comes out of it at the end than, you know, interrupt it and make sure they know that I am watching that for my entertainment. It's like a nature documentary. Like I need a David Attenborough to narrate some of that stuff. Yeah, like horror movies are weird. You know, and I think part of it is just the stuff I lived through as a kid. You know, my suspension of disbelief just isn't there. You know, so for me, it wound up just being kind of let's watch some really gory stuff shot in a very cool manner. And then the gory stuff just quit being entertaining after a while. You know, it's just like, you know what, I'm not interested in that anymore. You know, which is part of why, like, you know, Rotten.com lost its appeal. It's like why Faces of Death lost its appeal. Like, it just, it don't do it for me anymore. Like, me from like 20 years ago would think that me today is an absolute fucking square. I mean, the real stuff when you're trying to be like a 16-year-old edgelord is something. But yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure what it is. Like the suspension of disbelief, like that's hey, what's going on? 1977, alive and kicking. You got the suspension of disbelief, and it might just be that I don't like sitting there and sitting through extended periods of tension for the sake of tension. You know, it's like get to business. You know, that's just part of what got me with Inglourious Bastards. You know, I'm expecting a Quentin Tarantino, you know, absolute massacre of, how do I put this in terms that won't cause problems later? Emphatic German soldiers on the wrong side of history being absolutely shit mixed. That's what I was there for. And instead, the movie was like 2/3 just raw tension, and that was it. And it's like, come on, man. I was looking for From Dusk Till Dawn, but with, those guys. Like, that's what I wanted. Why didn't I get that? That would have been good. All right, we definitely need to check the edge after this. It's starting to cut a little bit slower, a little bit harder. Boy, this candle ain't happy with life. It's making so much noise. And today's scented candle is Dusted Pine. And like, I really love a really, really strong evergreen smell, like something that smells like, hey, Rich, what's up? Something that smells like, straight up Christmas tree on fire in your living room, basically. And it's so hard to find those. It really is. Rich, we're just basically beating on an Opinel and shooting the shit. Trying to keep each other entertained, man. What have you been doing today, Rich? Now, I know about the level of wear we've come to expect. Hey, me with knives. Ooh, shop work. Yeah, we were just talking about woodworking and stuff. You totally missed it. So we have like pretty much the exact level of wear that we expected off of this so far. Yeah, me with knives. We're beating on an Opinel number 8 and just shooting the shit, man. I think we got into discussing our points of view on horror movies when you guys came in. Ah, okay. Is that the and kicking part? Yeah, like, and I'm not sure how you categorize like House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. I don't feel like that's so much horror. But like those two movies, those two are like exactly in my wheelhouse. Those are absolutely phenomenal movies. Yeah, and again, like you gotta have that suspension of disbelief to really enjoy the scare out of those things. Like I've watched some Jason movies, and again, like I appreciate what they are. Nightmare on Elm Street, that was my jam back in the day. Like Freddy Krueger was just the thing. And of course, by the time they finally threw him in a fighting game was when like my ability to play fighting games just went right out the door. I used to be pretty damn deadly at them. At least, the people I hung out with, I couldn't find anybody that could consistently beat me at them. I never saw Three from Hell. I probably should. But, I never took it outside of my friend group, so I couldn't tell you how deadly I actually was. But, after years of not playing fighting games, like I'm so rusty that it's like picking them up for the first time damn near, only I know I used to be good and now I'm not. Like a lot of them I would play until I found at least one dude where I could beat the last boss on the hardest possible setting with the fewest continues possible. Yes, and I'm sure. Phyllis Jake! I'm sure if we look through the stuff that I've seen, I would probably find some stuff that was categorized as horror that I thought was just like, a particularly violent action movie or something. I'm not sure. I guess if there's violence, it better be gratuitous and kind of pointless. Yeah, we're beating up an Opinel number 8 and just chilling out. Yeah, like I watched Saw, and that was kind of interesting, but that also kind of started tapping into some of my more like Saw kind of started tapping into some of the darker parts of the damage side of my psychology, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch this, but yeah, no. Uh, Rich, I haven't been watching any shows, I'll be honest. I keep meaning to, and then it doesn't happen. Like, Invincible, I'm waiting to get into season 2. I'm letting that kind of develop a little bit so I can binge some of it. I really, really enjoyed the first season of Invincible, even though it's really hard for me to focus for long enough to watch stuff that long, which I can't tell you if it's just my attention span's been destroyed by YouTube or what. But yeah, like, Invincible was fantastic. Definitely looking forward to picking that back up. And like, I'm not big on anime. However, I do have a lot of love for Dragon Ball. I love Dragon Ball Z growing up. But One Punch Man, I've been waiting on the next season for that to drop. And we had to let go of Hulu for a while because we're on the struggle bus right now. So yeah, whenever we can pick Hulu back up, I'll probably be about the time there's another season up that I can watch. There was another show, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it is right now, that I was also waiting on. Yeah, I love how ridiculous that whole thing is, just top to bottom. Like, whoever thought One Punch Man needed to be made had a great ass idea. One show I do miss, and I wish another season would come out of, is the Grand Tour, but I think we're never going to get that again. Are you thinking about the Blob, perhaps? I don't know if that was just a standalone movie or a miniseries. I thought it was a miniseries. Huh. The Warrior. I'm trying to remember if I remember the name The Warrior from something, or if I remember some of the advertising for it. It's kind of ringing a bell, and it's kind of not. Oh god, that cut is still so good through there. I do miss being able to watch Forged in Fire. I know Hulu had some seasons up. I think Amazon had like a season or 2 up, or not Amazon, Netflix. But it's like my buddy Eduardo, I missed his episode, and if I'm not mistaken, he won that one. My buddy James, his episode was the last one that I was able to watch when it happened. But we also kept our satellite or cable, whatever it was, alive until that happened. Like, we were hitting the struggle bus and about to drop it, and I was like, nope, give me like 2 more weeks. Give me 2 more weeks. Let me see this happen. And then the day after, we're like, all right, we got to cancel service. Sorry, guys. I mean, for a minute there, I was trying to get good enough at making knives to at least make an appearance on the show. I wasn't expecting to win, especially not with having to make a whole ass damn sword. But I at least wanted to show up. And That's also where I learned, like, if you're going to make knives, like, you have to learn a lot of patience and you got to go through a lot of kind of expensive materials to really get the hang of it. And that was the other end of it too, is, you know, I ain't had the money to blow through materials like that. Like, I was really scrounging. You know, you basically got to treat your abrasive belts like they're free, and those things can run up to like 12 bucks a pop. You know, it's like, um, you know, and I wasn't really progressing. Like, I couldn't get the hang of doing like a full flat grind. There was a lot of stuff. Like, and again, you start small if you're going to start making knives. Like, this is about where you want to start if you're going to make knives. Is something about this size. You can control what's happening for the most part, and if you flub it, you lose a piece of steel and some time. I wish I hadn't failed this one, because I had some nice raindrop pattern Damascus going on, but oh boy, that delamination right there. Still salty. Rich, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're gonna buy a grinder, save up and get a good one right out of the gate. A lot of guys go for the Grizzly 2x72 that I have. Go ahead and skip it. All right, buy you a nice variable speed drive grinder. And I think most of the better ones run off a 3-phase. I can be wrong, but you're gonna have to take into account what you're doing there. Yeah, no, it just delaminated dead ass in the center. Like, that is a complete delamination. The layers just did not stick together right there, and it had to happen in an area I could not grind out. Like, just good God. I am so deeply hurt by this, because it was such a good knife up until that point. Yeah, so you're looking at around 2,500 to, if you're really gonna blow a wad on it, you're gonna have about 5,000 on one of those grinders. So, oh, this, I don't know how deep it goes. Like, the side here isn't blown out. The side here isn't blown out. I don't know how deep it goes, but that was enough to totally ruin the line. It's not because it was too thick. It was because during one of the welding heats, I didn't get it hot enough in the center, or some scale just worked its way in. But more than likely, it was I didn't get my temperature hot enough, and it just didn't work. I wanted to try to clip point it, but the way this delamination is, what this also means is there's still a little bit of area right here that looks like it's not fully welded, and that means that's going to split open further and further the more I grind it. I think there's like a small split right here where there was an inclusion or something that didn't take. And I'm looking right now. I know there was another spot that was no good at all. I can't see it right this second looking for it, but like there's too many other things wrong for me to really salvage it. Nah, I mean there's not much you can do to salvage that and have it be serviceable as a knife. I can probably, I need to file check it and see if I actually heat treated it, because that was like a couple of good years ago. And it sucks too, because I think I spent about 9-10 hours hammering together that billet of raindrop Damascus, and just one of my welding heats, it didn't go right. And I'm pretty sure, like, knowing a little bit more than I did then, I didn't get the heat deep enough into the center of the steel before I tried to weld it. Is more than likely exactly what happened. Man, this thing is still lasering some stuff. You know, say what you will about these things, but they are nice little units for what they are. Sorry, I'm used to having the phone like in landscape, and it won't let me stream in landscape right now because I'm still under 1,000 subscribers. So like, I'm thinking I got room over here that I don't have. But yeah, like at some point, right at some point, I'll go back into the shop and start making stuff again. You know, at some point I'll have that I have to make something to be okay state of mind. It happens, you know, I'll go through periods where it's just I have to be making something or I'm not okay. And that was the thing right before my mental health just said, you know what, you don't want to be in the shop anymore. I welded together a striking anvil, and I'm not sure how good it's put together because I was using a 110 buzz box with a stick welder, and like I put a lot of heat into it, a little bit at a time, and like I know the plate got plenty hot. However, that little welder didn't quite have the oomph to get super deep penetration. So basically, I did a very crude. I think it was either 9 or 13 passes by the time I was done. So it's got a lot of areas where there is penetration, it is stuck, and there's a lot of areas where it just looks like straight up amateur booger welds because I couldn't get the rods to cooperate. Like seriously, you get a third of the way into the rod and it just starts doing that number. I have no idea what an acid weld is, sir. But you know that thing, even if I wanted to do something with it, again, like there's too much too deep. It's not a way to fix it without destroying it. You know, if it was a bigger billet that I could work around, yeah, it'd be great. But I mean, even trying to get the weld all the way into the center of the blade would require going in there and getting all of the scale out before I did that. Because like just closing the top up doesn't really result in a flexible blade, and just closing the top up doesn't make it any different than it is now. You know, it is what it is. Like I had a lot of fun sweating out making that Damascus, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that's a done one. I'd need to make a new billet and start over. And like so I put all that stuff together and I made an eye punch to make a tomahawk, and that's been on my list of things to do is make a tomahawk out of a ball peen hammer. And no sir, it wasn't canister. What I did was I got your I think it was 1095 and some high nickel this bandsaw blade that was about 4 inches wide, that was cut up into strips. And you know, I forge welded those together and then started on raindrop pattern. And raindrop is where you drill a bunch of shallow holes into the surface and then hammer them flat, which results in these eyes right here. Those are that's raindrop Damascus right there. That was also my first try at raindrop. I've done twist Damascus and I've done cable Damascus, but this is my first try at raindrop. There's not really enough left once I cut this out to make a mini out of it. Like I said, this is just kind of where it's going to be. I probably do need to sharpen it at some point and use it for stuff, but you know, I got so many other things to cut with that you know, it's a nice piece to have because I made the Damascus, but again, like there's not really any salvaging it. It is what it is. You know, some pieces when they fail, you just got to let them go. And that's the thing is like, it was already, yeah, something. It was already turning into not what I had laid out, just trying to chase out the problems because there was a bigger delamination all the way down one of those two faces. I forget which side. And I chased that out, but it really started pushing the design way outside of what I had intended going into it. Bro, I just need to go and find out where all my stat points are to begin with. Something went wrong. Like, I think somewhere I might have put a couple points in charisma and gotten that kind of dialed in a little bit, but everything else, like, what the hell happened? Like, I need to get a few points into my ability to remember shit and be aware of my environment. That'd be nice. We can roll 18s. We can roll 18s. You liar. Calling the pants on fire department. This is the number 8. It's not just that I like cutting with this. What we're doing is putting it through a ton of cardboard while we hang out and talk, and monitoring how quickly the edge deteriorates. I sharpened this a while ago and I stropped the living daylights out of it before we started. So we're just seeing how long it takes to wear out. You know, this is kind of what I've been doing, is taking different knives and just seeing how well the steel holds up to, you know, cutting in. Like, we've had 3 CR13 take doing this for 3 solid hours, and it could still be stropped back up to doing a kind of passable push cut on paper. You know, so this is part of where I'm also learning how some of these steels hold up too. Like, I'm learning stuff, we're hanging out. You know, I enjoy doing these. I think this is carbon steel, given how much corrosion it's picked up. That's actually corrosion. We're pretty sure it's carbon. I don't really have a good way to tell, but we're going with that. Turn it around and perhaps it'll cut cardboard too. I'm not gonna do that just because this lock is incredibly loose, and that scares the hell out of me just thinking about doing that, man. I like your train of thought. I like your train of thought, but no, I'm too scared of that. Yeah, like, so this Opinel came from stuff that belonged to my uncle before he passed away. And that, you know, it's its own story. I've told it a bunch of times, but I had never had an Opinel. I found these when I was going through the box of stuff that I got, and I was like, hey, that's really cool, and then never carried it because I need a pocket clip, and, you know, some of the more modern luxuries for how I carry and what I carry. And then one day I was using these to cut paracord, and they were starting to struggle, so I sharpened this one and it turned into an absolute laser. So over the last few, while we were looking at no, the only inscription I have is Opinel France, nothing else. So I know these are fairly old. They may go into like the 1980s, but I've never actually really cut a lot of stuff with one. And we went through a bunch of stainless. Our last one, I think, was the Buck 110, because we were looking at how fast you can wear out a older 440 steel. And we went out on a cheap Winchester knife from Walmart from 2007. And like, it was a pleasant surprise that it held up well enough, but it also wore out faster than the other ones by a noticeable amount. And then someone said, do the Buck 110. So we did the Buck 110 from 1980 to 1981. And then the question was carbon steel. What does carbon steel do? So here we are. This was the first carbon steel folding knife that I know I have. I've got some carbon steel fixed blades, but those are all a bit too big for something like this. So those just sit where they sit. I've looked at the company before. I know they go back to like the 1800s, and I think this design goes almost all the way back to the 1800s. But most of the knives I had that were my uncle's were bought in the in the 80s, from like the early 80s to the early 90s. So I'm assuming this is from somewhere back in that window. Yeah, we're trying, dude. We have put these things through 3 straight hours of doing this, and they're still able to be stropped back to life. Like, they're not showing that much wear after 3 hours of this. Like, it's one of the things I was complaining about. I've got to find a more hardcore way to test these that actually puts significant wear on them that I can use for the channel and testing. And I'm not sure how best to go about that. You know, there's a finite amount of cardboard, but we have a problem with ordering Amazon and not leaving the house, so there's a ton of it available right now. You know, I'm not sure how to really make it more hardcore. And this thing is just lasering through it, and it's already been like the better part of an hour. However, we are going to check the copy paper once this little piece of cardboard is done for. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of that dusted pine off the candle. I don't know why, but yeah, no, the full flat is so nice on this. But I'm not sure why, but like when I go to buy scented candles, it gets really hard to find any that smell strong enough to make a difference. I don't know if it's that my sense of smell is going out, or if it's just, you know, we got to make it cheaper. We got to make it cheaper. Andrew Fett, what's up? I thought you were going to work, buddy. Yeah, neat. Okay, so we have another shredded chunk of cardboard. All right, how's the copy paper looking? So it's still hanging in there, okay? All right, Andrew, man, enjoy work. Good luck and Godspeed. I'll send Fook to avenge your death. Let's see, can I reach the die? Sorry, I dropped this thing and now it's bothering me that it's on the floor. And let's see if we can find some of this tougher cardboard we had the other day. And I just hit this. Archie blows. So, yeah, boy. We got some of the really, really tough cardboard from the other day that was really hard to cut. Thank you, Fook. It's an honor and a privilege, sir. You haven't missed much. We're just fighting with cardboard, and it's still doing okay on the copy paper, so we're getting some much harder cardboard to cut. And even with this stuff, it's still lasering through it, but it's definitely a tougher material. And I can feel so much blade play. This lock is so loose. 12C27. I did cut some cardboard. But I know it's hard to believe. I hope you were sitting down when you heard that. I don't know. We could go back into old video games, because like a lot of times I like finding games that are on, you know, weirdest games ever lists and getting those. Like any of you guys played Katamari Damacy before? Pitfall. I tried that once many years ago and just couldn't quite get the hang of it. Yeah, that whole one button thing lost me because I got started on the NES. Yeah, I got super into Katamari Damacy. I'll still sit there and play through that once in a while. I mean, once you get the hang of the tank controls, it can be a very relaxing game. You know, especially once you really, like, for the longest time, I had every level completely mapped out and exactly where I needed to go, when I needed to be there, all that. So I was pushing like some just huge Katamari up into the sky. I had 2 Ataris and a bunch of games that I couldn't quite get to work with my TVs. I don't know what was happening. But I ended up selling those to buy more blacksmithing equipment. Those turned into tooling for the shop. Fracus, are you talking about the Cold Steel Twistmaster? All right, Bill. Glad to have you here, man. That was cool. Yeah, hang on a second, guys. Yeah, Fracus, you are talking about the Cold Steel Twistmaster. Which, this is one of the knives my uncle actually left kind of sharp. He did. I mean, if you're capable of grabbing this knife, we have far bigger problems. Yeah, that's the newer consoles right now. Like I got a PS5, and it's just like, all right, it's a glorified PS4 with a more confusing user interface. Actually, I've still got 2 original Nintendo Entertainment Systems in the house. If you have cartridges that you want to play and you don't want to have to pay for a whole new system, there's a system called the Retron 3. That will let you play Super Nintendo, Nintendo, and Sega Genesis cartridges off of the same machine. You're best served to buy original controllers, though. The ones it comes with are raw garbage. Like, the controllers it comes with are infrared, so they're like the TV remote. So you got to be in exactly the perfect place for them to work right, and even then, the buttons are so crappy. It's worse than using a colostomy bag for a Capri Sun to try to play on them. I gave them a fair shot, but no, thank you. Oh God, Grand Theft Auto. I don't actually play Grand Theft Auto. I just boot the game up and then steal cars and drive around. That's all I do. And usually I'm trying to find ramps or something interesting to jump as far as possible off of and, you know, try to get the car as destroyed as possible and still run as I can. That's really all I do with it. Come on, man. Your pitchforks can only get so sharp. Okay, so this is the cardboard that everything struggled with over the last couple of streams. And this stuff is munching it with no major issues. Like, I'm hoping it's putting some extra wear on the blade. Oh God, I have done so many irresponsible things just spending more time gaming. I used to know a lot of the I used to know a lot of the codes for the cheat codes for Vice City and Grand Theft Auto 3 by heart. It was a long time ago. But yeah, like I've even hit the point where I'm not even necessarily causing chaos so much. Back on Grand Theft Auto 3, me and my friends would play, and we had two things we did. I think you're thinking up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start, dude. But, you know, it was either find the biggest jumps and see who could get the biggest score off of the jumps. And then the other part was get the wanted level as high as possible and then get out from under that wanted level and get back down to 0 stars. If we hit a point where we're back in the corner, it was just see how long you could stay at that wanted level and still be alive. I have enjoyed the hell out of some fantasy RPG games, but it's kinda RPG, kinda not-ish. Like Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, that one, I thoroughly enjoyed that, but I also kind of broke the game. Like that's my thing with RPGs. I try to figure out how to break the game. Either I'm going to go in and overclock my characters, or I'm going to find a kind of broken equipment combo that works for me and go to town. And with that one, I figured out how to craft the right weapons. Figure out how to craft the right weapons and get the right button set up where it was just like triangle, triangle, square, triangle, triangle, square, triangle, triangle, square. And I just went through the whole game like that. There's another one, Gauntlet Legends on PS2. Not only did I secure some of the most rare drops in the game, oh wow, nice. But yeah, I also figured out how to memory card dupe. Just go to save point, load up your save, then save it on a second memory card. You load up the second memory card, drop all your good items, and then pull the memory card, and then pick up everything and save. So like I was dual wielding the most badass stuff in the game. Yeah, you got a lot going on, dude. You got a lot going on, man. Jesus. Like, I don't have the energy for any of that after work, man. I come home and my battery's drained. Like, I am done. You know, I mean, part of that is retail, that is social battery, that is mental battery, that is physical battery, all of them getting a beat down. I tried playing Skyrim, but you want to guess which version I tried because it's the system I had at the time? Go on and guess. I'll let you guess. Not the 360, sir. Worse. Yeah, like I used to love board gaming, and you know that I've kind of lost my edge on that one too. Like one board, yeah, PS3, the worst possible version to try to play. But one board game I will rock the shit out of, like Risk. I can't get people together to play. Every time I play Risk, I just become Australia and I wait until someone has to decide when they want me to kill them while I go out to making sure that one person can't win the game. I'm not going to win, but they're not going to win either. But no, one board game I will rock the shit out of is Betrayal at House on the Hill. If you've never played that, oh my god, it is so good. It is so good. Oh man, I'm going through both layers. So Betrayal at House on the Hill is interesting. So basically your board is built as you play. You draw tiles to build this haunted house. So you might draw Betrayal at House on the Hill. All right, so you start the game off, you got a central tile, which is the middle of this haunted house. And you can lay down hallways, you can lay down bedrooms. You can lay down kitchen, lay down, basement stuff. So basically you're building this as you go, and you go into a room, like you may draw a card, you may trigger something, or that may just be your turn. You drop a room and move. And your goal is to get yourself equipped while you're playing, because there's something that triggers rolling dice. And these dice, the number you roll increases. And there's one face that you don't want to get. And when that face matches a certain number, I forget what, it triggers a haunt. So one player takes one rule book and goes into the other room. The rest of the players look at a different rule book, and all the pages match up. So the guy that left with the rule book by himself is the big bad in game. He is trying to kill you before you meet the requirements of the rules to defeat him. And this rule book has, like, I think 50 different things that it could be. It'll tell you, well, thanks, man. It's like 50 different possible scenarios that can play out. And, it's kind of a different game every time. And there's also a couple of expansions, but I think you need like 6 good people together to play that. And it is so good. Oh God, Monopoly. I had a game, Stalemate, and that game lasted for 3 weeks, and we were having to basically write our own money on a piece of paper whenever the bank owed us something. So we had like these giant mixing bowl full of strips of paper, like the IOUs from Dumb and Dumber. It just would not end. I don't remember ever finishing a game of Monopoly myself. And then, like, whenever I feel like a basic bitch, I will go in on Yahtzee. Like, Yahtzee can be a lot of fun if you got people that actually enjoy the game. I haven't played Uno in a long time. But, like, Yahtzee is a good game for your non-gamer friends. Pretty easy to understand, and it can be a lot of fun. It's just, like any other game, you gotta have the right crowd. I kind of miss my competitive Magic at the Gathering days, but, that chapter of my life is well behind me. Like, those of us that are old enough to remember the days before the internet was the internet know all these games. Like, we know Uno, we know War, we know Solitaire, like, all this stuff. Part of me is glad I never got into drinking games. Like, I'm not the guy for that. I will say, like, one of my only regrets is I never got the chance to do Edward 40 Hands. I really, really wanted to do Edward 40 Hands and never got a chance. 4 in a row. You're talking about Connect 4? I always liked playing live. Candyland was an old favorite from when I was a kid. Candyland's just so simple and fun. This piece of cardboard is incredibly hardcore. Every knife I've thrown at it has struggled, and this one is doing better than the rest of them have, but when you get down to this last little strip right here, it gets really hard to cut. Like, you really got to fight for it. Now, it might be doling out a little bit. We're going to check that because I wanted this piece of cardboard specifically because it's hardcore. You just played Pong. Okay, so it's definitely starting to be unhappy with life. And of course, the paper's also starting to get a little crumpled up. Yeah, so it's definitely showing some wear. It's showing some wear faster than anything else has. Bro, I still have a notebook full of Pogs. I still like, so I had a crap load of them, and I had some really nice slammers. I had the works, and then I traded those for Magic the Gathering cards right after I learned how to play, which was a good time. A good time to do it because Pogs had been on the way out and like they were on their last legs. Um, the those cards turned into a whole thing, but a friend of mine traded me his old Pog notebook from years and years ago, so I've got like the whole thing sitting over here. I'm tempted to go grab it actually. And this is part of where I desperately wish I had a metal working lathe. Like I wish I had a metal lathe because I would love to make some Damascus and make a Damascus slammer. Like a Damascus slammer would be amazing. Yeah, I got into them when they were really peaking, and you know that was a point in time where I was regularly at a card shop where they had like just Pogs for sale. And I really was able to pick up a good few of them. I had like I think 3 full canisters, and then again some really nice slammers, a couple of improvised slammers. You know, we had a lot going on there. And now all I have is the little cheap plastic slammers that come with everything. So at some point, I'd like to make some you kind of didn't miss much with Pogs. Like they were fun, but it was also just showing off this thing that I got. Let's see. Yeah, and I was in the door like 1992, 1993, somewhere in that window. Like when they were really alive and kicking. I don't get me wrong, Pogs was fun to play. But that was also kind of a you had to be there thing. Yeah, I was born in 1980. So you ain't that far off from me, man. I meant time-wise, but at least we share a planet. You know, 1977 ain't that far from 1980. But yeah, I went through a period where, I was technically homeless. Like I was just basically couch surfing and crashing at people's places, wherever I could crash for an extended period before, people started demanding money or personal conflicts arose. So I've been there and I've done that, and like I missed out on a lot. But the places I stayed tend to have a lot of either movies or games. And one buddy of mine, stayed with him for a while. Was with his first wife, and I never had to do that. I came close, but didn't have to do that. But he'd get a new game and he'd get all excited about it and he'd get kind of proficient with it. But at that point, I was just an absolute sponge. I would learn games so damn fast. So like, he'd get a new fighting game and he'd be sitting there and he'd be wailing on me for about the first 15 minutes. And then when I started getting the game figured out, he started getting absolutely shit mixed, and his wife's sitting there laughing her ass off at him. He's getting more and more upset because it's like the 9th game in a row that I've done that to him on. But no, actually, whenever I left my ex-wife, I got in my truck with a heavy blanket and a couple of pillows and no idea where I was going. So I was like, I'm going to have to stay in my truck for a little bit. I don't really have another way to do this. And I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to myself. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show other homeless people how to do this with dignity, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever said in my life. I'm not going to lie. But I wound up just going and staying with my parents, which that was its own whole separate story. Not fit for here. But, or staying with my dad and his wife, which, not a story for here. Yeah, I don't know enough about Yugoslavia to form an opinion outside of I do kind of want a Yugo. But finding one of those in running condition that's actually, you know, something you could actually drive and not have to dump thousands of dollars into repairs into, I don't think you can really find that now for a reasonable asking price. Man, this thing is lasering this stuff. Yes, I mean, that's what I was saying. That cardboard that I had just a second ago was just really, really, really hard to cut. This thing is still lasering it. I will say, I do miss playing D&D a lot. I wish my schedule and my friend group allowed such things. That being said, if I go back into it, somebody else is hosting and somebody else is dealing with the schedule. I'm not doing that to myself again. Oh, like, you can put any engine in anything if you're willing to spend the time and money on it. Like, that's just the nature of cars. But I'm assuming they had to do a whole lot of work on the rest of the body and the whole rest of the car to make it be able to withstand a Mustang engine like that and not have things just bend, break, and snap at the least opportune times. Like, I can't even imagine. You know, like, it'd be fun to take the shell off of one of those and, like, drop the, you know, drop all the guts out of it, get rid of everything except the shell, and then put, like, a good all-wheel drive system in there. Get, like, a nice potent little, turbocharged boxer engine or something like that. Like, that'd be fun to tool around in. But, that much power, rear-wheel drive in that thing? No. No. I had things to live for. Yeah, I know the whole D&D thing's a bit hard to believe. Yeah, I think that throws me is I think what was it? The one where Tavares tried to beef up and modify a Yugo and it still didn't quite go how it needed to, even with the amount of work he dumped into it. I haven't seen a lot of that, but I have seen guys basically electrifying old cars and, you know, same principle, but just building a bespoke electrical system for that car. I'm waiting on Robert Dunn over at Aging Wheels to finish off his dual motor. Is it an Explorer? Either an Explorer or an Expedition. But yeah, he's working on one. It's supposed to be like 1,000 horsepower dual motor absolute monster that he's building from the ground up. And it's like, I really want to see that done. And I'd love to follow Tavares on his current build, but I'm kind of at the point now where like it's the same hours worth of video every time. It's time lapsed guy working on a car with the same song in the background every time. Is like, I'll circle back around when it's finished. You know, it's kind of what kills me with some of the guys I used to love watching. Is it's the same video every time, man. Come on. You know, it's just like the older videos, of course, they all had a bit of personality because it's like different car, different set of problems, different everythings. You know, so the videos are different. And then they, you know, get big enough where they can hit their formula, and it's just the same damn video every time. And a lot of times it's the same damn background music every single time. Yeah, I'm 6'4", so car shopping is always interesting. The one thing that kills me is, of course, being born in 1980 in the United States of America, in the southern part of the United States of America. Knock off! What's up? You know, wanted one of those old Jeep Wranglers for the longest damn time. And post divorce, I picked up this minivan for $1,800, and I already knew it was going to be a bit of a shitbox, but it was $1,800, which was the right price at the right time. Well, that thing had transmission issues going into it, and I knew it did, but I managed to keep it on the road for, I think, about 2.5 years, something like that, which, you know, when I'm buying a shitbox, the way I look at it is $1,000 for a year of service. You know, you spend $1,000, you get a year of service out of a shitbox, so for $1,800, I got my money's worth. However, the transmission absolutely grenaded while I was trying to drive home from work one day. So I got picked up. My dad took me over to CarMax, and we looked at cars, and they had one of the Wranglers that I wanted. And all right, Fook, man, be good. But they had one of the Wranglers I wanted, and I could not force myself into that cab. Like, I couldn't get my knees under the steering wheel far enough to sit down in that thing, and it hurt my feelings so damn much. So I ended up with the RAV4 that the wife drives now, and she gets the nice car. I've got a Gen 2 Dodge Ram. I don't know what gen it is, but it's a 4-door Dodge Ram, and it's a bit of a shitbox too. But I've wanted one of those in 4 doors since they first came out. Oh God, what did you spend money on for your birthday, knockoff? What engine? And oh no, you ain't kidding. I've always wanted like one of those old USPS Jeeps. Those things are just neat. What engine are you asking about, knockoff? Oh yeah, like I've always wanted a Jeep, and when I've got the money to actually go out and intentionally pick what I want when I go buy a car, I'm going to be taking a look at some of the newer Jeeps. Oh, the Dodge is a 4.7 Magnum. It's nothing special. That being said, it's got more grunt than anything that I've owned before, so I'm happy with it. The 1969 Dodge van, that one had a 318 and a super low geared rear end. So, like, off of a red light, it was like lightning. Like, I could get the front wheels up off the ground, about a ½ inch maybe. And this was bone stock with 30 years of abuse and no maintenance. So that tells you a lot. And that was a 318, which ain't really a potent motor without a lot of work. I do not baby it. Again, it's a shitbox. Perpetual check engine light. Yeah, no, that's the thing, is like I've driven one of the newer Wranglers. I think it's a Sahara edition. So much room. So much room. But no, the Dodge, the Ram when I got it was oh god, I don't know, 160, 170,000 miles, something like that. But when I got it, the previous owners had done so much redneck hackery on it that granted, it knocked a $10,000 truck down to $6,000, but you know, it's got issues like the ball joints shot. I had the noisiest ball joint replaced, and it was very, very quiet. And then the other ball joint went out like 2 weeks later. So there's a lot of money into trying to make it quit making that noise that didn't work. So it's still a baby, but the check engine light's on perpetually. It's so far overdue for an oil change. It hurts to think about. Electronics in it are starting to suffer. And I can't tell exactly why. But you know, it's just got to keep it on the road until I can replace it. Which hopefully when I do get promoted, it opens up some opportunities. It's either that or I'm gonna have to like 9mm Mike, what's up? I don't know how many miles are on the oil, man. You're getting into like specifics that I don't keep track of. Like the last time I topped it off, I think was high mileage oil. And I say I think, because like I said, it does not get babied. It does not get maintained that well. I just got to keep it on the road. I got to figure out why the check engine light's on. It's like an evap issue. I've already replaced the gas cap. I need to go and look and see if the evac canister is still connected properly. It's been used hard, and it also has a small leak in the valve cover gasket. So yeah, it burns up some oil. But I've got a little bit of time left to figure out why the hell the check engine light won't go off. I don't feel like dealing with it, but I'm gonna have to. Because I live in an area with emissions, which, you know, I get it. I get it. I've seen pictures of what things were like out here before emissions and after. I was certified to do emissions for a year there. So like I went through all the training and all the education on it in the background and all that. So like I understand why they're there, but like times like this where it's like I don't have the money to spend on a big fix right now. I don't have the money to replace the gas tank. I don't really have the wherewithal to get in there and replace the fuel filler hose. I'm running out of options for what it could be though. It may just be a wire popped off on the evac canister and I'll be good, but I just haven't looked. All right. I've seen some NKM. I dropped by their booth at Blade Show 23, but I don't know that much about them. Like, I'm looking around because a buddy of mine who has traditionally had significantly more amounts of money than I have by a lot was looking at them, and the guy asked me, "Is there anything you're interested in here?" And I'm like, "Bro, I don't have nearly enough money to make you a sane offer on anything here, man. I'm just looking." It was basically, I went in there, I had like $100 that I could spend in the show, and I think I wound up spending 140. And it's hard to get that much out of Blade Show when you've only got like $100 to work with. And that was also like, I'm not even spending money on food here. Like, I will wait till I get home. But I tell you, by the end of that day, I was fucking starving. I think I did spend the money on a pretzel. Oh, that's not too shabby. That is not too shabby at all. Let's say M390, the price on M390 seems to be nosediving right now. some demolition blade. Like, you talking about like Hardox or AR-500 or something like that? All right, we'll check the paper once this piece of cardboard's demolished. Well, I mean, normally if I'm making blades, I'm going with a 1095 and or 15 and 20. Those are reliable steels. The heat treatment's known, and I have the equipment to do a good heat treatment on it. Now, the equipment to grind it properly, that's another story. Because my grinder goes one speed, about 7 million miles an hour, and it takes about 1/8 of a second of contact with the belt to burn a spot. Part of why I haven't spent that much time working on knives in forever. Like, I've made some good hammers, and I can tell you everything about how to dress a no, it's not slow work. Like, you get in there and you touch it, and I mean 1/8 of a second. It's no exaggeration. 1/8 of a second, you burn a spot because the belt's just going too damn fast. And there's not enough material there to heat sink away from it. Yeah, no. Nothing I made was really good enough for sale. It's just not there. I got a couple of friends, they got real good. They make some money off of theirs, but like, you gotta have you really gotta have a good skill set, and you gotta be making some real nice stuff and have your game on point. Like, yeah, it's still going. In about a minute here, once this last piece of cardboard shredded, we're gonna take a look at the paper and see how it still cuts. I wish we had a tally of the number of people that drop in, take a look, and go, I don't know what this is, but I don't want to watch it, and they're out. And I'm taking a look at stuff to possibly pick up once I run out of stuff in the backlog. I might be able to put a few bucks back for while I wait. And one of them is claiming to be S35VN for like 30 bucks. And I have my doubts. Like, I know S35VN is flooding the market and getting cheaper and cheaper, but I don't see S30, like, unless they just didn't bother heat treating it. All right, Punisher, like, I'll be around for a while, but, you know, definitely go do what you got to do, man. And I mean, yeah, like, blade steel for me is becoming less and less of a thing, just because so many of these things are performing. Okay, so it's still cutting paper, but it's definitely showing the edge wear. So we are getting faster edge wear. I think this might be about as fast as the 2007 440 from that Winchester knife. But I mean, going with like knockoff knives for your branding is definitely not a good look. Okay, so if I understand right, you're just shy of midnight, is what you're saying. So, what were you like talking to Lefty about designing a knife, or how did that come about? Yeah, I'm still not big on Ganzo. Like I have zero confidence when I buy a Ganzo that I'm not buying a clone. Like just so many other good things. So many good things at the same price from other companies that I know aren't clones. There's not really a reason for me to really get hung up on Ganzo one way or the other. Yeah, like I've seen their series. It's just again like I don't trust them. Like I have like 3 or 4 Ganzos that I bought when I first started buying knives again because I wanted axis locks and that was the cheapest way to get them. But some of those are just straight up clones, you know, clone, clone. And the build quality's there. Like I would trust them to carry them and use them. But I don't trust Ganzo in the fact that I'm pretty sure I'm getting a clone when I don't want a clone. And like, you just go over to Sativian, and at about the same price, you get way cooler looking stuff that is definitely, absolutely not a clone. You know, so there's no reason. You know, and it's the same thing with Ethan Grow. It's either it's a clone or there's some serious quality issues. I don't know why I'd put you on blast with a channel name. That's a little odd. I don't think Sativian's from the same factory, but you might know more than I do. I'm just saying, I've got some Sativians. One of them wasn't designed great. Ethan Grow, I don't think it's from the same factory either. You're talking about completely different companies. It's just I've bought a few Ethan Grows, and then I found out later they were clones, and they got some serious. The Ethan Grows I have got some serious design issues. One Sativian I have isn't designed the best, but it's probably not a problem for anybody else besides me. I just don't like that particular design, but the other ones I have are fantastic. Um, but no, we're not talking about the same factory. We're talking about totally different companies. I mean, they might be going through the same OEM. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I mean, a channel name's a bit of an odd thing to go off on someone for, but you know, like guys that make knives and guys that are selling knives take clones way more personally than anybody else does. And I can see where maybe as a designer and seller, you know, as a designer and seller, there may be some issues with just the perception of a clone or a knockoff. Like I do kind of get that part. You know, and I mean, cloning is it's on Amazon. Let me take this auxiliary phone real quick. Let me look at my wish list. Sorry, I'm looking at Amazon right now for you guys. Wallopton Tactical Folding Knife CPM S35 VN for $29.95. I genuinely do not trust that that is a actual S35 VN, or if it is, they didn't bother putting it in the first thing resembling an oven. I don't know. I kind of don't want to know. I don't have a way to test whether or not it actually is S35 VN either. Like I don't know how I'd go about that. Well, that's the thing. Like, if you don't want to spend Spyderco money, they have their own budget line called Byrd, BYRD. And it's Spyderco's, it's just budget blade steel, like, you know, like, it's still a Spyderco, but it's made from cheaper materials, basically. So, like, you don't have to buy a clone, you could just buy a Byrd. And, oh, it does? All right, I may have to pick one up and check it out just to see, like, all I've got is a Tenacious to compare it to, but I may have to look and see, like, you know, what sucks so bad about Byrd? Now I'm curious. No. Byrd is made by Spyderco. It's not a clone. Like, Spyderco makes those. That is one of Spyderco's brands. It's not a clone. That's what I was saying. Like, Byrd is one of Spyderco's brands. Spyderco makes them. Trust me, I would not recommend a clone to anybody. You know, I know some people don't care. What? No. Like, Byrd might be manufactured in China, but it, like, Spyderco is not using the same factory as Ganzo. That's what I'm saying. If you want a Spyderco, you can get a Byrd. They are made by Spyderco. Like, Byrd is Spyderco. They're the same company. Okay. You got me on that, because, like, some of it's the joke part can be hard to pick up when it's just text, but you got me on that one. You got me good. You got me. Fair play, sir. But yeah, no, I've looked at Byrd and, like, I need to get one of those, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just wait till I've got the money for the Spyderco that I want. So I've got the Tenacious, so it may be worthwhile to compare a Byrd to the Tenacious and see how it do. This thing's still cutting surprisingly easy. Like, the fine part of the edge, the very apex, is definitely worn down, but the brain fart, that full flat grind is definitely showing up and putting in a lot of work here. This is part of where I've started developing a taste for a full flat grind. Like, I like what they do a little better. So you said you're out in Yugoslavia, right? That raises an interesting question. Like, what do you guys have for knife brands that we don't have here in the United States? Because that's one of the things. There's a channel called the EDC Zone, and he's a blade brother down in Mexico. And every so often he pops up with something that we can't get here in the United States. And I always like looking at those things. And I've even looked at, you know, how to buy a couple of them just to get something on the channel that nobody else out here has. And like, you literally cannot get them outside of the US, or you can't get them in the US. Okay, it's still going. Let me grab a couple more pieces of paper. Croatia. Cordon. Yeah, I'll write Cordon down. Remember to look at it later. Let me grab some more paper for the next cut, and I'll be right back in about a half a second here. Yeah, I wrote Cordon down, so I'll definitely take a look at that a little bit later. I think I'm going to give this about another 45 minutes until about 6:30 my time, and then wrap this up so I can go lay down and stare off into space, or try to crash for a couple hours so that it's easier to stay up until 1 a.m. so I can take medication to sleep. That's a real roundabout way of doing things. We got more people watching. Pop off in the comments, man. Let me know you're here. Yeah, if I need bayonets, I got a few. One of my favorites was one from, basically made for the Austrian army and then sold off as blanks to civilians, like no handle, no coating, no nothing. Back in the 1960s. I didn't know what it was, but I made a handle for it. Hey, what's up, Rich? We're just trying to get the chat back up and active again. Everybody that was really going on this took off for adult stuff. This thing is still coating surprisingly decent. This thing so far seems to be wearing out at about the rate of some of the old 440 steel. I have not seen Scallywag Tactical Knives. But yeah, I do watch Joe X pretty regularly. Actually, today's video where he went in on the Opinel number 3 was funny, especially because like this, I think we planned this out like 3 or 4 days ago. On the last live stream, we planned out getting the Opinel in on this and seeing how it does. And like, we know this is an older Opinel. We're pretty sure it's carbon, so that's what brought us to this point. Oh yeah, I imagine doing a Yeah, I'll take a look at Skellywag. That a lot of that also depends on pricing too. Like I'm not at buying like if I want to buy something in the $100 range, I gotta like put money back for a few weeks to do it. That's kind of where I am with this stuff. And right now, if I want to buy something in the fucking $30 range, I gotta put money back for a couple of weeks. I am currently on the struggle bus. I don't mind the word tactical so much. You know, a lot of that is just kind of the mystique of the word. Yeah, I'll see if I can get a beat on one of those, because that's definitely something I haven't looked at before. It's like not buying, you know, my 14th Cold Steel and being like, hey, this is fantastic because it's Cold Steel. Although I do have more of the budget Cold Steel sitting in the Amazon wish list waiting. Like I got the 8010, I got the Frenzy, I got the Twistmaster, I got the big Luzon, I got the regular Luzon, I got the 1911, and there's one that's like 23 bucks that I want to check out. Partly it's just I'm kind of curious to see what they can do for that price, because I mean, Cold Steel doesn't screw around. They don't screw around at all. You know, they make some ridiculous stuff, but they definitely back it up. It is amazing what Lynn Thompson will do to his knives on video, and they're just fine with it. Still, the Cold Steel Cavalry Saber Machete being put through a cattle skull and nothing happened to it is awesome for me. Yeah, big knives have their place, but I'm kind of right there with you too. If I got to do a lot of chopping or taking care of bigger tasks, I'm going to go for a machete. Like axe, I got to have a specific use for. You know, if I'm going to be going in on taking down trees that are bigger than, you know, 2 inches around, give or take, then yeah, I'm going for an axe. But a lot of times, like a machete will get me where I want to go. As long as I don't do that to myself with it. Well, if I don't do that to myself with a machete, I'm all right. I mean, they make drills for making holes in the ice. That's about as far as I go with it. Unless you're trying to make a big square hole, and then, you know, they make dedicated saws for that. And I mean, that is definitely a right tool for the right job situation. Yeah, machetes are definitely path in the woods. You know, I like machetes for being easier to carry than an axe in a lot of cases. And if I'm cutting up like small trees to build a campfire, a lot of times a machete will take care of that and also handle some of the other parts of fire prep a lot easier than an axe will. But a lot of my fires that I build, like the logs are still round. I don't break them down. I just you know, basically build the fire out of tinder and throw more and more and more small stuff on there to get the fire hot enough to handle one of the big logs without breaking it down, and that takes care of me pretty good. But I also very, 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 very rarely get to build fires because I am very rarely outdoors at a point in time where it would be reasonable to build a fire. Like I need to get outdoors and do some more camping or something like that. Yeah, like honestly, Battania knife should be just when you absolutely have to, not because you brought the knife with you. You know, you're a lot better off with a hatchet or a wedge. Not saying it can't be done, and I'm not saying they're not making knives now that can be batoned, but honestly, again, bring the tool for the job. I don't want this piece of cardboard. All right. I'm going to break a box down for more cardboard. Yeah, I mean, even then, you know, ooh, you know what? You got some extra beefy double layer stuff that I can cut up. Yeah, I'm not batoning with a knife unless I'm absolutely forced to. You know, if I'm going out into the woods on purpose, then I've got enough room to put a hatchet in the pack or in the car or wherever I'm going to carry something. Like, again, I know knives are being made that are designed to be baton, but you know, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I've seen martini knives. They showed up on Dutch Bushcraft Knives a while back. Oh, we got some real beefy double layer stuff now. I mean, I'll be honest, my camping knife, when I get to go again, is going to be the Cold Steel Bowie machete, which it's just basically the machete version of a very large Bowie knife. Which, granted, that's what took a bite out of me right here, but that can pretty much cover everything that I really need. And I mean, it did great with building the last fire once I bandaged myself up and, you know, quietly accepted my self-inflicted defeat. Yeah, I did see a few of them pop up. You know, I've been kind of monitoring that. The blacksmithing channel that I used to do topped out at 806. And right now we're getting close to surpassing that, which I'm happy to see. And then that first 1,000 is going to feel really good because, you know, I spent a lot of time on that blacksmithing channel and, you know, didn't have a lot to show for it as far as subscribers or any traction. And I got one video on there that's like at 29,000 views now. I was like, I'd love to get that here on this. I haven't messed with Columbia knives. I'm not sure what they're about. I'm gonna say CRKT don't really make that many bad knives. They don't. I do wish they'd get back in bed with Ed Van Hoy, though. Oh, God. I tell you what, if I ever get to travel outside of the country, um, if I ever get to travel outside of the country, I promise you one thing I'm looking for is foreign gas station knives. And if I get a chance to get those back home somehow, those are going to be some fun videos. I tell you one thing I'd really love is to get some stuff, some knives from the USSR, like before the Berlin Wall came down. You know, just because I grew up in that Cold War stuff, that'd be really cool. Like, I need someone in Russia that can send me a bunch of their gas station knives. Yeah, I know. Like, that's the thing is, like, old USSR stuff's real hit or miss, but, you know, it's kind of more of the what went behind it, the history, than the actual thing itself. I've got, I think, a couple of pairs of pliers that were made in West Germany. Yeah, I'd love to have some stuff from the 30s, 40s, all that stuff. You know, but right now I'm not in a position where I can really chase that down. You know, you're looking at a game of money and patience that I'm not geared up to win at the moment. Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, because I think USSR, you had to have the price stamped on the thing because it was price controlled, wasn't it? Yes, I think I remember seeing that. Like, USSR, everything was price controlled, so the price had to be stamped on the thing, like indelible. You can't put like a different price tag on it or nothing. Oh my God, I am so glad I did not try this with the other knives that weren't full flat grinds. Jesus Christ, this stuff is tough to cut through. There's 7. Like, there's a few people that are watching and just aren't chiming in the comments. It's like, it's confusing. Like, bro, you're at a live stream, man. Pop in, say hi. I don't know if just what, like, the cardboard cutting can't be that interesting. It can't. It just can't. Oh God, my wrist is so angry right now. Oh. But yeah, this stuff is hard to cut through. Cut me harder, Daddy. I wish I hadn't said that out loud. Oh, man. Oh no, I very, very much appreciate the support. You know, it's just, we'll get like 11, 12, 13 people. Ah. Well, enjoy that for all it's worth, sir. But no, like we'll get like 12, 13 people in here watching for a while. And it's like, you know, I mean, the reason we're here is just to hang out and talk and, you know, enjoy the chat. Yeah, I can't imagine someone that's not, you know, hanging out in the chat that's just like, yeah, I love just watching cardboard get cut. Don't get me wrong, like, if I wasn't talking, there might be some ASMR going on here, but you know, I don't have the ability to shut up long enough for ASMR. You know, like, I have the right to plead the fifth, but I absolutely will not. Stylish plastic fishbowl. Where the hell do we have a fishbowl? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not putting pressure on the blade like this. The lock is in nowhere near good enough shape for that mess. No, thank you. I have things to live for. Age of Mythology, I am not familiar with. There's a lot I'm not familiar with. And of course, my brain goes straight to Age of Empires, followed by Robin Hood and How Do You Turn This On? Oh, cool. Yeah, like I think it was Age of Empires 3, The Age of Kings. I had that, and I'd play for a while and try to do a legitimate playthrough, and I wouldn't get anywhere because I couldn't build fast enough to really make up for the amount of time I spent getting attacked. So I just type, how do you turn this on, a whole bunch of times and send a whole bunch of Ford Cobras and machine guns at everybody. And at that point, it was just, all right, click, point, and then I'd walk away and come back and things would be destroyed. I have no idea what just fell off of here. Oh well. Give it about 15 minutes here. And we're going to strop this thing as far back to life as we can and see how sharp we can get it off of the strop. And then I'm going to hang it up so I can go lay down. I got a whole bunch of nothing to do. Yeah, I've got to find a better way to hard test these things because, I mean, these edges just aren't wearing out past the point that they wear. Like, they all wear to pretty much the exact same point as this one is right now, and they don't wear out further. Yeah, I don't have chunks of fire hose laying around. All right, let's see if for the next few minutes here I can burn off some of this adhesive that's on here before we go to the strop. I'm not sure it quite works like that here. I'm pretty sure I could go on eBay and buy some fire hose. That being said, that would start getting too expensive too fast. Yeah, but like the way things work with agencies like that here, especially once you get the government involved, is when you have to throw it away, you actually have to throw it away. Like you can't just give it to somebody. Like you don't really get to take stuff home like that. Like even at work, if we have a vendor that has product that, you know, either like it's not product we carry, they accidentally brought in or something like that, we still can't have it. You know, Krispy Kreme donuts comes in every single day and they drop off donuts and they pick up the donuts from yesterday that didn't sell. They'll walk out with between 11 and 16 boxes of donuts that didn't sell every single day. We still can't have them. They didn't sell. They have to cart them off. And we don't get to take advantage of them. They're going to get thrown out. We just can't have them. Yeah, like I worked for a contractor that provided civil service on a Navy and Air Force reserve base. And I mean, even throwing out like old office chairs, if they had to throw it out, they had to be thrown out. Like that's just the way it is. I'm not sure how the fire department works with that, but like with everything else tied to the government, like if you got to get rid of it, like you're getting rid of it, like you're not giving it to somebody. Which I think part of that is to avoid creating conflict of interest. Like, hey, I can hook my buddy up with tons and tons of this stuff, so we'll figure out reasons to throw it out sooner. You know, because humans be kind of crooked sometimes. Yeah, like if I had a really, really small local fire department or something like that nearby, maybe. But yeah, we don't get that kind of luxury here with stuff like that. Oh, my wrist is so angry at me right now. It is so angry. Yes, they are Dunder Mifflin pants, believe it or not. I believe these were on clearance at Walmart a significant amount of time ago. Yeah, I've marathoned The Office a few times now. I think I've marathoned The Office like every hour I was at home from work and awake, running The Office from beginning to end. I think I've done that like 4 times, maybe. Parks and Rec, I've done that twice. Futurama, I have done marathons so many times. Star Trek: The Next Generation, I've done that 2 or 3 times now. Which I guess that means by default they're some of my favorite TV shows. Persistence with the E, the second one right there. It's Persistence. You have it correct on the second one. I mean, yeah, like the whole point here is to cut cardboard and hang out. So yeah, there's no reason to stop cutting it. We got about 10 more minutes before we strop this thing and see how sharp we can get it back to it, or how much sharper we can get it off the strop. But yeah, like, I'm still a huge dork for Futurama. I think the new episodes are showing up on Hulu. Nah, dude, like, you're learning English. You're learning it. Like, that's a whole second language, dude. Like, I can only speak one. You're already, like, way ahead of me on that. But, yeah, so, like, I think the new Futurama's on Hulu. I think. So I'm not going to get to watch new episodes for a while, but that's okay. I can let them build up and binge them if they're good. Yeah, Futurama is one of the best shows ever made. Like, I will still watch the brains out of it. Like, I don't really cry. I'm like a lot of guys there. There's so much damage there, and so many times in my life where crying would have been a display of weakness that I could not afford. Since 2008, I've only cried when we had to put our dog to sleep. That gives you an idea. But Futurama, there's a few episodes I got real damn close. And given how much I'm softening up now, I probably actually would start crying off of something like that, which would actually be an incredibly healthy thing. Like, if you're a grown man and you're still capable of crying, do not lose that fucking ability, because it is incredibly unhealthy to not be able to when you need to. Just a bit of a pro tip from a guy who's messed a lot of stuff up. I mean, your English is good enough that we've been sitting here talking all night without any problems. I mean, that should tell you something. You know, if you want to keep practicing your English, this is a good place to do it. I am happy to let you. And yeah, like, I started learning, I tried to learn German in high school. And one thing I've learned is pretty much every other language except English has the sentence structure totally different. Like, apparently English is kind of easy to learn compared to other languages, but good God, like, you look at everything else and it's like everything is totally backwards whenever you try to, like, decipher how the sentences are put together and how the grammar works. Yeah, tolerance is a good thing when it's used appropriately. You know, there are things out there that absolutely cannot and should not be tolerated, and you got to know what those things are. Yeah, furries are harmless. Just leave them alone. No, I mean, that's one of the things I don't understand, but um, I mean, no, without getting too serious, you know, like racism, people that harm women, people that harm children, like that kind of thing doesn't need to be tolerated. Yeah, sorry, if you harm children, you need to go in a wood chipper. Yeah, no, if someone tries to offend me, there's a 90% chance I'm going to say something to them way worse than they just said to me. All right, once I finish this little tiny piece right here, we're going to the strop. And then I'm going to sign off once we figure out how sharp we can get it on the strop. I have not seen that one. It's not totally dull now. It has definitely taken some wear and tear. Okay, so let's see what we do to the copy paper. Well, part of that, I was using it like a saw for that last part to get all the glue off. All that tape I cut through covered this thing in glue. So it was sticking to the paper and making it harder to cut. Using it like a saw like that cleaned all the glue off so that it was easier to get this cut right and see how it actually cut. Yeah, so I mean, it's held up as well as everything else has so far. Yeah. It's held up as well as everything else we've done here so far has. Yeah, like I only had these because they were in my uncle's stuff when he passed away. The stuff that I got from him. Honestly, that's the only reason I know these exist. That being said, was it like the Opinel #1 or whatever it is? You know, it's just basically a pocket sword. I would still love one of those, but I think those are discontinued now. And I may or may not be right, but I think they may also be quite expensive on Fleabay. Now, I will say one thing that's worth having if you're going to be going out and camping is a hori hori knife. If you've never seen one of those, it's like a cross between a large fixed blade and a trowel. That thing actually bought me a lot of space in downtown Atlanta. Was it the 13? All right. Really? Y'all saw that, right? Yeah, bingo. When I sprayed yards, I did a weed control on yards. They would occasionally have me in a very, very, very bad part of town. And, I don't carry a gun around. And it's not because I don't like guns. I absolutely love them. It's because I know that I am not equipped to handle a situation escalating like that without um, something going terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. And I don't want killing somebody that didn't necessarily have to be killed on my conscience. I don't want a simple argument to escalate into someone getting shot over something that I could have gotten yelled at and walked away and everybody would have been fine. I can take that. I can take someone yelling at me that is yelling at me for no reason or some perceived slight. That is better than, responding to something like that with lethal force where it was not necessary. But I put my hori hori knife in the sheath on my belt and had it loud and proud, had my shirt tucked in around it, made sure it was highly visible. And you had guys that looked like they were about to start begging for money or something like that. Or they had that look in their eyes like, about to go fuck with this guy. And I just rested my hand on that thing and they took one look at it and walked away. It's like, you know what? I'm cool with this. Because again, I'm not really mentally geared for dealing with stuff escalating like that. Like that's not what's left of me after everything I've been through. All right. So once I finish this strop and we do a couple paper cuts, that's going to be it for the night. Yeah, I want an Espada XL, but I want the good version, not the G10 version. And the thing is, with that big square thumb plate on there, I already know I can't really carry it like I want to, which doesn't really help its case a whole lot. Ah, Maxilla, hi. You have rolled in at the worst possible time. We are about a minute and a half away from wrapping the stream up. We have been at this since 4 o'clock. So we have been cutting cardboard nonstop for 2.5 hours. And now I'm stropping it up to see how sharp we can get it again after 2.5 hours of slicing cardboard. Let's see if I get rid of this. Yeah, I should be doing another stream fairly soon here, give or take. I am closing at work for the next few days. But I may be able to find time to squeak a live in at some point. Not 100% sure exactly when. They're not regularly scheduled. Yeah, it's back to cutting like it did when we started. I'm gonna slap this to the strop one last time. I want to see whether I can refine this just a touch more or not. I already loaded up on my daily allowance of Tylenol before I came down here. Okay. I don't think we're going to get too much more out of this. I think we've gotten it as far as it can possibly go, but yeah, that's as good as it's ever going to get. So yeah, this thing, like the rest of them, took hours and hours of cutting cardboard, able to strop it back to life. Like, I've definitely got to find something more hardcore for the next Super Budget Showdown when I got to go through and test the edge retention on these. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. How do she shave? Not really shaving so much. Weird. Yeah, I popped one hair off. Um, Cutting length, if I had to guess, we are probably between 400 and 500 feet of cutting length on that. But that is going to be the end of the stream for tonight. Good night, guys. Thank you so much for dropping by and hanging out. I'll give you guys a bit of a heads up when the next one's coming up, and we'll do this again. What do we want to cut with next? That's the question. Do we want to do one of the Ozark Trail knives? What do you think? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe one of the Axis lock knife that I had to like grind to get into working order. Because I can't really do a fair carry on that. You know what? We'll do that. We'll do one of the Axis lock knives from Christmas. But that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one. I'll give you a heads up when it's coming up. All right. Y'all have a great night. They do not still sell it. And no, it is not D2. They don't tell you what it is. All right. Y'all have a good night.